So I've played in two different tournaments so far in the year, both RTTs. What would happen if I do a third one? Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Brandon Wheeler. I have a strong mouth because when I was in the army I had like heat stroke thing happen, so I can't talk right unless I bite down something. Sounds like this, that, so that's why the straw. Welcome aboard. I started playing, collecting Warhammer stuff back last October, and I started playing since January this year. So, I've done two RTT tournaments, both at Hobbytown. The first one was more straight up RTT tournament. The second one was kind of our Crusade League. At the end was a kind of a RTT tournament, but we could use all the Crusade enhancements we got throughout that thing for it. But we only had 6 people arrive for that. Kind of, I don't know, it wasn't as big or anything. I did talk about it, whatever, but I also did a video on the first RTT I did, and the first RTT I had a loss and 2 ties. The second one, technically with the Crusade and everything, it was 3 losses. So what would have happened differently for this one? Well, after many decisions of what I was going to do with the list and everything, I came up with something kind of like hours before, after playing a couple test things with the detachment I was kind of running for the game. And I played like 2 games at Giga before, and then I was like, you know what, I really need some more firepower. So that's what I did. And this is the list that I brought for the 1,000-point tournament. At Hobbytown, because they closed at 6 o'clock, we had a time limit for each of the rounds. There was 3 rounds, each at an hour 45 minutes, with 15-minute technical extra time for setup. But so you could have about 2 hours, because we started at 11:30ish, had to get done before 6. So we got done about 5:15, most everyone. So what I run is my Autumn Guard, which is a successor homebrew chapter of the Raptors of the Raven Guard. So I use the Vanguard Spearhead detachment, which is, the sneaky things and stuff like that. That's what I like using. That's what I'm going to do. So the list I took was this: a Captain in Gravis armor with 5 heavy intercessors, a Chaplain with Jumppack with Vanguard Vets with Jumpacks, a Librarian with my Sternguard Veteran Squad, a regular Intercessor Squad, Assault Intercessors with Jumpacks, 5 of them, the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, and Gladiator Lancer. Now, the Invictor was something I recently just got because the new data slate that just hit early October, it went down to 125 points. That's only 5 more points than a Devastator squad that I have, so I'm like, yeah, that's basically what I gotta get. I have to get that. So that's what I got. I chose to take the Gladiator Lancer as opposed to a Phobos unit and an Incursors and an extra Sternguard, because I needed that extra firepower. I could not just rely on what I had. Playing some games, I felt like I really needed some firepower. So that's what I ended up taking. So I took the Gladiator as opposed to a Predator, because I thought, the Gladiator, I can get those rerolls, so I don't have to worry about the Oath of Moment as much. So took the Gladiator. Exactly at 995 points. I did have 1 enhancement on the Chaplain with Jumppack, which gave him infiltrate. But how did it go throughout the game? Or throughout the tournament? Well, let's see. Let me tell you what we had, at least, I'm not going to tell the people's names, but what was available as, what other teams we had throughout the the other Marines. We had I asked what his stuff was, kind of like based something off the Iron Warriors, so that type Space Marine list. We had Grey Knights, we had Custodes, Road Eaters, Orcs, Necrons, Drukhari, Imperial Knights, Leagues of Votann, Orcs, Tyranids, and Leagues of Votann. Now, one of those Leagues of Votann, he's originally a Tyranid player, but he just got some Votann, so he tried it out for this tournament. And I'll tell you about that afterwards. But there's one I didn't mention, which I was really excited about seeing, that entered, because we had 1 spot left, and they entered that morning, and that was Sisters of Battle, the Adepta Sororitas. And I will say that looking at them was like, wow, those are gorgeously painted. And I will give one spoiler that there was a separate category for best painted army, just to see like whoever had the best paint schism, they would have that. I would say for top 5, you could include, for all the paint things, you had one orc army, I would say would be good. This elder gentleman who had a Tyranid army, he had like a tan and red thing going for his Tyranids, and I kind of liked it. I would include that. But the sisters were absolutely just gorgeous. And yeah, the sisters won the best paint category. They won a Warhammer. Yes, a Warhammer. An actual just like hammer. It's not meant for you to smash your models, but it's just like there. So it was like, all right. Now, the other reason I bring him up last, because my first round was against the sisters. And I've never played the sisters before, so what happened? So I've never played the Sisters of Battle before, so I've seen plenty of different videos and everything of kind of how they work. A lot of melta guns, a lot of stuff up close, but they kind of weak getting close-wise, but they're, as some people around describing them as glass cannons. Now the first field because all the tables get free assigned and stuff, through the best pairing app, we get assigned this table, which is like, reminds me of Helen, Georgia. It's a very Germanic town and stuff with the construction and everything like that, and has some fall theme to it. I just felt like, oh, this is home field advantage for me, because this is like, oh, this is kind of like my home world for my autumn guard, because I kind of have it that they have a fall themed army and everything. And that's what I had. So the secondaries for that game, I might as well tell you, everything was fixed objective. So because it was fixed objective, we had certain stuff. It was take and hold, and I think the mission rule was like chilling rain or so. But the secondaries that I chose was storm hostile objective and assassination. Same thing he took. And I could not score assassination one time. I spent everything in this chariot lady, and I could not kill her. I tried so hard to kill that thing, and I could not. He had 4 vehicles on his side of the field, and I was like, oh, crap. But I took care of 2 of them, or one of them with my Gladiator, like, first turn, so that was good. The Gladiator doing what he needed to do. I spent most of the time with my captain on the right side of the board, and he didn't do anything pretty much all game. But I got to use my Chaplain a lot. I was able to kill several of their units and vehicles using him, and along with my Invictor, but things got melted real fast. And in the middle of the game, you see, zoomed in, there's this like windmill that we placed the middle objective under. That was where how the board was, because all the deployments for each round is Dawn of War format. We're using the Leviathan way because not everyone still has access to provide Nexus cards and stuff, so they just chose Leviathan because that's something everyone at least would know and have. So that center objective became very, very important as the thing kept going on, and he started charging it with this like these flying ladies. I don't know what they're all called yet, and I was able to do an Overwatch with him with my Gladiator and everything eventually, since it was right there on the middle. And that Overwatch pretty much killed them, although my Intercessors were able to finish off the rest. Because that happened and he had to pull his unit off another one to try to challenge and attack it, because he couldn't take it, and it was contested with OC at the end, he couldn't score it, so he didn't take Storm Hostile Objective or anything. That one move cost him the game, and I won 50-43 against Sisters. So that's my first time playing Sisters, and I won. And it was my first tournament win overall, so it's like, yay. I was hoping at least for one win, and I got it, but it was a tough match, and of course my favorite of the thing, because I was really excited to finally face Sisters after, well, I won't say how many games yet, because that's a thing, so long to finally face the thing, so awesome. So I'm feeling good. It's like, oh, I got my first win, I'm feeling good. But now the next match happens, and it's a rematch of a match I had at the first tournament against Necrons. Now, I didn't take any pictures with this one, but Necrons is the same opponent I had with Necrons at the first tournament where we both tied. Or, not we both tied, but we just tied. The reason why we tied and I couldn't win and I almost won that game is he had that Void Dragon thing, which I charged, tank shocked, and everything, and I got it down to 1 wound, but because I couldn't kill it, we tied, and I didn't end up winning the game, so that was disappointing. So would I get revenge in this? We'll see. Well, I have a completely different list compared to the last time. Andy had like 3 Catan. He had the Tempest Immortal, like blue guy with tentacles, and the ghost guy, which I'm familiar with. I think I've killed the ghost guy before, but I've not killed the Void Dragon yet up to this point, and I'm going to make it a rule that I'm going to eventually one day kill the Void Dragon. That'll be my thing for it. But will I do it in this game? Well, we keep going back and forth, and I'll explain what the things were we had. We had priority targets, and he chose behind enemy lines to deploy teleport Homer. Where I chose the same thing, and at first he's killing it on the secondary and primary because I can't catch up to that crap. But then I start being able to score primary because I sneak up behind his thing and I take... Because even though he had the 3 Catan, in order to make out his points, he just had these 2 little Necron dudes that were off in the corners and everything. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to kill those things. I do, and I take over his home objective. And he does the same to mine, but I challenge him for it, and I'm actually able to kill that freaking thing, which is good. But then it comes to the very end. I have 1 Assault Intercessor still left, despite the attacks of the Void Dragon. And he's about to charge it. I use my Vanguard strat of being able to move D6 inches away. If it's a Phobos unit, it's automatic 6 inches, but this I have to actually roll for a D6. I get like a 4 or a 6 or something that makes it very hard for him to try to charge it. He decides not to. So then it's my turn. I have second turn. So what I decide to do, since it's right near his deployment, I move my guy over into his deployment to try to score the secondary points of deploy teleport Homer or behind enemy line thing to try to get those extra points. He overwatches. And it was right then when he started overwatching, which was a smart play, that I completely realized my mistake of what I did. He absolutely kills him with the overwatch. Like, he's able to make it and absolutely kills him. But it was then I realized my mistake. See, earlier in the game, I used guerrilla tactics, which is I'm basically able to... I have a strat where I can basically take my dudes, put them in strategic reserve, and basically put them anywhere, as long as they're not in engagement range or anything. I did that earlier to kill his Necron guy in the corner. That way I can, stop him from scoring secondaries. I should have did that instead. On my turn, or at the end of his turn, since I moved away, all I had to do was pick him up using that strat, and then put him on my home objective. And he would not be able to do anything, because the way the thing scores, you score it at the end of the turn for the second player. So I would have scored, and I would have won. But because I decided to do that thing where I moved to his deployment, and even realizing it after the fact, I don't think that still would have given me enough points to win. I think I would still be 1 point down. If I went and did that strat to put it on my home objective, I would have won. But instead, I end up with a loss, 56 to 54. That was bad. That sucked. That was so close, and I realized my mistake of, I could have won if I hadn't done that thing. And I was just like, wah! It sucked. It was bad. And I was like, ah. But next time, if I verse him at a tournament again, third time, I need to remember to do that. Hopefully I come out with a win. But yeah, the Invictor's tactical Warsuit in that game did nothing as well. I tried charging that ghost thing, tried killing it, nothing happened. I mean, it could just keep exploding, mortal wounds, everything. It's just like, yeah. That's why I brought the Librarian, because that invul is very good to use against attacks. And he was able to live for a little while. The only thing I had left of that game was my Chaplain with the Vanguard Vets on the opponent objective. That's all I had, and there was nothing else I could do of well. So I lost game 2. But now we go to game 3, and it's against Custodes. Now, I have faced Custodes one time before. Technically twice, but I'm only counting once because I had to leave early during the game because I was getting called for stuff, so I had to leave early. I didn't finish the game, so I didn't count that game. So we replayed that game. I used the same troops, same list, everything, and I lost that pretty badly. Or not pretty bad, but I lost pretty handily, but it's okay. So I only count one game towards that Custodes. That's just how I did it. But So I'm counting this as the technical second game. This game versus the point. The thing was the Custodes. They're so point heavy. You had close to 20 models on the table. You had different stuff and a Custodes assassin. I don't know what the name of the assassin thing is, but he made her look like Deadpool. Lady Deadpool is what he made it look like and everything. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. Actually, it kind of fits the way the design was and everything. I was like, you know what? If there was a thing for individual models, I was like, that might be yours because that's really interesting. So Custodes, I take over what the thing was for. It was take and hold. Behind enemy lines, deploy teleport homer is what he chose. Sweep and clear rules for the secondary mission, main mission thing as well. He chose behind enemy lines, deploy teleport homer. I chose behind enemy lines, but storm hostile objective. I felt that, you know what, I could try to do something to take things down. Like in this, I didn't put my chaplain in deep strike. I put him on the board, and they just infiltrated, and I got him close to the thing. He had first turn, but I was able to take over the objective in the middle. He tries to charge the middle objective, and I use my strat to be able to move away, and I'm actually able to get a good distance away. And that kind of screwed up what he was going to do, because he was going to try to get in close combat. But he couldn't, because I ran away. And he's like, I totally didn't know that you had that. I'm like, yeah, Raven Guard. It's what my Autumn Guard do. We just do things and run away. But that is a legitimate tactic thing. But so because he wasn't able to do that, he was just forced to sit there, and I was able to shoot them to oblivion. And he did, had a chunk of dudes just in the corner, just scoring points, deploy teleport homer like every time, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't do anything to stop that at the moment because I got more important things on the board. So I had the mobility though to go and run around to all the different objectives because I have, jetpack guys with 12-inch movement, and they're running around all over the place. And I take over his home objective. He had Sisters of Silent there that Sticky did at first, but he saw that it was coming, so he tried moving away, and I killed him with a Gladiator. My Gladiator has a 72-inch, gun. I could shoot into the next game if I wanted. And, yeah, they died. It was bad. I feel sorry for them. But they died. And, but my Gladiator wasn't last long because he had guys that teleported behind the Gladiator. He couldn't get to it right then, but I was like, yeah, I know my Gladiator's going to die. I'm still going to shoot him. So I shot those sisters. He tried moving them close. I overwatched him. I got one wound on him. Tank died. Okay, the Gladiator wasn't going to last. But then all those guys came up, and I had my Captain of the Heavy Intercessors. I was thinking, do I charge, not charge? I tried shooting him, and I was like, nah, I can't charge. I can't do anything. He charged me on his turn, and yeah, pretty much all the Heavy Intercessors died pretty easily, but my Captain, because he can have damage, lived, so that's why you see this photo of him tanking everything. Unfortunately, during my turn, I was able to fall him back. I chose to, you know what, I'm not going to have him fight, because he has to be a hero, so I moved him back, fell him back, and then I shot those things to oblivion, and then charged him with the suit and the... I think did my chaplain charge him? Someone charged my Librarian. I charged him with pretty much everything I had that could, and I wiped them out. I was like, good. But then that chunk in the corner on the thing over there with this assassin, I was just looking at him like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to necessarily mess with that, but I didn't necessarily need to because the game was so quick because he has so few models and everything. Unlike the Necrons, who only had 5 models. The game ended, and I came out on top. It was 75-56 against Custodes. My first win against Custodes. And I was like, oh, wow. So that's my second tournament win ever. So my tournament record, just tournament record, not including my overall stats and everything, I have 2 wins, 5 losses, 2 ties. Good. Now, the way they did the stuff on the BCP, the Best Coast Pirate thing, whatever it's called, I had a hard time trying to even logging into that because I couldn't do it at first. And then we figured out what the problem was with the email stuff, and I got entered in. It scores by points and how many wins you got. It's the first time using it. So my points were 50, 54, 75. 2 wins, 1 loss. Overall, out of 16 people, I ended up in 4th place. 4th place. So that's the highest I've gotten at tournament thing so far, obviously, and it's pretty awesome, honestly. Now I wait to think of like what would have happened if I won that second game. It would have completely changed the thing because then I would have to verse one of the other winners. If I'll tell you who the top 3 were. It was number 3. The 3rd place was Orcs. Now they lost their first game, but they had more points overall in the other ones. They had 46, 62, 84, so that little bit point difference is what gave them 3rd place. 2nd place was Grey Knights. And 1st place, though, was Imperial Knights, the Knight Boys. That's why I have this picture of the Knight guy there, because he won. So, those... I feel like... Maybe I first nights before I lost, but I feel like if I went to another round, there was no way he could score secondaries or anything else because I killed his other stuff. I would have been able to win, but it was so quick of a game that we already got to round 5 and it ended. I'm like, oh crap. But if it went another round, I would have won that. So I don't feel like Knights would necessarily be as hard or as challenging because I have that idea of what I could do. But then again, who he faced was a Drukhari thing, and Drukhari throughout the tournament was eating everyone up. It was scoring everything like nothing, but his dice went extremely cold during that game, and the Knights just walked all over him, literally, so he had no answer for that, and so I was like, wow, the Knights destroyed you that bad, that makes me rethink of like, man, maybe I wouldn't necessarily do as good as I think, depending. But the Grey Knights, though, which is the one that I'd be interested in, if I verse Grey Knights, because my brother had Grey Knights for a while, and even though I faced one other person with Grey Knights once and I lost that game because of a 3-inch, move where they can just get right into 3 inches. That's how I lost, because usually they would just kind of do that thing I described earlier. He just got on the thing, had more OC, and he technically won. And even not to fight for it. It's just like, more OC wins. I'm like, great. But I'm curious what would have happened if I versed Grey Knights, because I feel like I could have done something, because I built this list and with the in mind that I was going to verse possibly Custodes or Drukhari, looking at the list, because I need those AP saves or those AP attacks, because if I didn't have anything AP, I mean, your 2-up saves, just normal saves, the option of you just getting a 1, very unlikely. 1 or 2, more likely. So trying to fight against that is really what I had to plan for and do. And fortunately, that's why I built the way I did, and that's why I was able to kind of go against Custodes pretty well, even though my heavy bolter guy went extremely cold. He hits, like everything. I was getting sustains on my Sternguard heavy bolter. I'm like, wow, this is great. He has great shooting. Can't wound worth a crap. I was like, why is he not wounding? But I wonder what would have happened if I went against Grey Knights. That would have been interesting for me to try to do. Orcs, I do terrible against Orcs. I don't win that often against Orcs at all. I do extremely terrible against Orcs for whatever reason, so it's just like, man. But if I went against Grey Knights, that would have been the interesting thing, what would happen. The Grey Knights versus the Necrons guy, and Grey Knights beat the Necrons guy, because they were just teleporting all over the place. So I was like, oh, man. But I really feel like if I versed Grey Knights, what would I have been able to do? That would have been interesting. Even Drukhari, what would I don't know, I feel like I could... Here's the thing, I feel like I could have taken any of them, but seeing how badly Imperial Knights destroyed Drukhari, of course his dice went cold in that game, and he was saying like none of his saves, nothing was working for him, and that Imperial Knights guy was able to make his saves extremely well. I just feel like, man, if the Knights did that well, of course everyone builds something different, so maybe that's why. So that makes me think like, because not every Knight is the same. You see one unit, you think, oh, it's the same thing. It's not. Each one can be different. It's like, okay. So, I don't know. Imperial Knights are a question. Drukhari, I might have an idea of what to do, but Grey Knights, for some reason, I feel like I could take Grey Knights. That's the thing. It's just, I really wish I won that second game, because then I could go against Grey Knights, and I wonder what would happen if I did. I need to verse Grey Knights again one of these days. I feel like I need to test my might against a Grey Knight thing to see how well or how far maybe I've come to try to do stuff. Especially with my new Chaplain guy. He's been great. Not that I've been winning necessarily, but he's been great in what he's been able to do. And I was like, interesting. So overall, 4th place in the tournament. I had the honorary mention being 4th place, the Autumn Guard, and I was like, cool. I'm proud of my efforts. I don't know what would have happened if I won that second game. I'm disappointed because I could have easily won that game in realization, and I screwed up and been like, ah. That would have been like my second win against Necrons or something, but no. Oh well. It's fine. It was at least an improvement over the past few times because now I understand, I understand more how to do a 1,000-point list in general, which is good. And I don't want to just be Jumppack stuff all over the place. I use it for deep strike and doing stuff because it's useful for me, but I don't want to always just be Jumppack. So I know you can have like a Blood Angel thing where you get all the Vanguard stuff, but either way, everyone had, fun time and everything. My Warhammer friend, who usually used Tyranids, he used just the Votan, and he won 2 games, which is interesting. He only lost the Custodes by like a point. That was his only loss. So he did well. I was like, wow, Votan doing the first time, and he win. World Eaters did kind of well. Some Orc players I thought they were going to do well did terrible. But again, how the matchups go, and then how the all the dice run is something different. I didn't take any pictures of it, but there was this table that was there, and it had a wall through it. It's just, you had the table, and then you had a wall splitting it in half. There's only like a gap in the middle, and the objective course goes in the middle of it, and it's just like, the only way to cross is through that gap. So it's just like, well, so you only have one way in. I didn't get to play on that thing, but the guy who won 3rd place with his orcs, he played on that table twice, and it's just like, well, that sucks, because every table's terrain's different. But it's just like, that sucks. But he won his last game with that, 84 points, so he can't complain too bad. He was asked what he thought about the wall, and he's like, there needs to be more holes to be able to get through, and that's what we told him. Probably if he does the wall thing again, the maker, the one in charge of the thing, he should be able to, there should be maybe like a tunnel in each wall itself. That way there you have basically 3 entry points, one through each of the walls and the one in the middle. That way it's a little bit easier to get through and stuff. Because just the one entry point, you could put someone there and just tank everything and just shoot at everything crossing. It just gets, but that's how each game goes. You can't change the terrain really, and it just makes things fun. You have to think of what you got to do. So that was my tournament at the end of the year. Unless there's something else that comes up, maybe I can do another one. Another RTT or something. But it was fun, tiring. But it was, overall, I had a good time. I realized my stratagem thing, if I remember your stratagems that you have. I know I have like a deadly prize thing. I've never really used it, but also they changed it where it doesn't activate unless I take the thing back, which is like, huh? What's the point of sabotaging it then? That doesn't make sense. So, but either way, it was a good time. I thanked Hobbytown for running it again. And they're saying probably their next one they might be around like March, April, around spring. Like probably like what they did last year. So hopefully, we'll see. So this could be my last tournament of the year unless something else comes up in December or so. So it just depends on when I can get work off for it and everything. Because I work overnights, and unless I ask for it off, then I can't go. Like there's one at Giga next week, and I can't go to that because I need to work. Alrighty, well, hopefully the Autumn Guard has better success in the future. I mean, seemingly I can get 4th place. Cool, that's the highest I've done in the tournament. Maybe it would be the highest I've ever do in a tournament. For those of you who may be wondering, like, what was the prize of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd players? They got to basically get something in the store up to like a certain amount of money. Of course, 1st place had the higher amount of money. 2nd place, the 2nd pool, 3rd. I think 3rd is like $40. The 1st was like 160 something. They got like a combat patrol. I think they grabbed the combat patrol sisters. So, and the sisters guy, of course, won the Warhammer for his best paint job. Because if you look at those, I was wondering for best paint job, looking at those Tyranid models, a couple other dudes stuff, and then I saw those sisters. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna win. Those were automatically just. They were amazing. I was just like, those are awesome. Just beautifully done. I don't know how I do against a 2,000 point army of sisters. That would be an entirely different question. But it still would be interesting nonetheless. At least I can say I faced them now. Still haven't versed Votan or anything else. A few other things yet, but that can change in the future. Alright, well, advice for future list building and stuff, and whatever else is going on in the Warhammer stuff. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.